Hi, it's Sally-Shakti, your visionary writing guide. Welcome to Tarot and Astrology for Visionary Writers from Monday the 8th to Sunday the 14th of May 2023. Wow. Take a moment, let's just take a breath to ground, drawing in and up from the belly of the earth and letting the whole body just sink into wherever you are in this moment, into presence, groundedness. Sound on the out breath, lengthening, letting go. Okay, welcome. Welcome to this moment. Welcome to being present. Welcome to being grounded in your body, on the earth. And I mention that because the energies I want to speak about today, this paradox, the contradiction between Mercury and Taurus. Mercury is still retrograde in Taurus this week. We have 2 more weeks left of Mercury retrograde, this week and next week. And Mercury is retrograde in the sign of Taurus, the earth sign. Now I'm fresh back from my second weekend of Star Priestess training in Glastonbury, where I'm doing a deep dive into natal chart astrology and goddess-centered astrology at the Goddess Temple in Avalon, in Glastonbury. And this weekend we've been looking at and meditating with, journeying to the energies of both Taurus and Mercury. And they are so different. They are such different polarities of energy. And right now we have them both together in a dance and in a conversation around what we need in terms of these two energy polarities. I recognized myself so much in the energy of Mercury. If I were to trace my movement throughout a day, I reckon I would probably look a bit like Mercury's orbit, this constant backwards and forwards, to and fro, direct and retrograde. Mercury moves fast and then goes back, and then moves on fast and then goes back, and then moves fast and then goes back. And when I think about my embodied movements, that's how I move around. I've already done that about 20 times this morning. I go off to do something, I get there quickly, I realize I've left something behind, I go back for it, and then on the way back to start the original thing again, I have 12 new ideas and I start another 10 things, and my mind is moving at 1,000 miles an hour, and I'm always in the process of doing 100 things at once, and I'm always going back to finish what I started, or repair something that didn't get made properly the first time, or go back to try and remember what it was I was intending to do. And I physically do that. I physically move through the house or the space that I'm in, like going backwards and forwards, needing to keep going back and getting something that I forgot, or doing something that needs to be done that I forgot to do whilst I was in the kitchen or whatever. I'll have an intention to start something, to create something, and then, like I said, whilst I'm on my way to that, another 12 ideas will come up and I'll start something else. It drives my partner insane that I move in this way, and that it takes me so long to do the original thing that I said I was going to do, if that gets done at all, and not forgotten amongst the 20 other things that I've started in the meantime. It's not a linear path for sure. And also it can be frustrating. I recognize in myself as well, this is where I feel a lot of stress, and why sometimes I I try to stop breathing. I think I'm trying to stop time, because I've given myself so many things to try and do within a particular time frame that I know it's not possible to do all of those things at once. And something in my psyche tells me that if I just stop breathing, I can stop time and I can get all those things done, which of course doesn't work and makes me a whole lot more stressed, creates a whole lot more anxiety. Mercury works with the adrenals, and there's a lot of adrenaline and nervous energy in that kind of very fast, um, almost chaotic, but it does have structure, it does have purpose, but it looks chaotic from the outside. It looks very changeable from the outside. That energy. And we have that Mercury energy right now, retrograde, moving backwards in the sign of Taurus. Taurus is an energy that I need to cultivate. I need to call in that ability to be grounded, to be steady, to be stable, that openness to receive. Taurus in the tarot relates to the card of the Empress, whereas Mercury is the magician. So Mercury has this beautiful, powerful energy to create and to manifest with the materials of the earth infinitely. But we need Taurus. We need that Taurus slowness to bring those visions into form. And Taurus, the Empress, is, for many of us, a tricky invitation to slow down, to open, and to receive, to trust, to know that the abundance is within us and that it needs time to manifest. Our visions need time to become real in this world. I'm sure I'm not the only visionary writer who manifests this mercurial energy and this pattern of having 100 ideas on the go at once, and sometimes how difficult it is to manifest just one of those ideas when my energy, my thoughts, my mind, my intentions are so scattered on trying to do 20 different things instead of the one thing that would move forward. And often pulling up the roots of those visions that I've planted because I feel like they're not coming to fruition fast enough. Whereas what Taurus reminds me is to give them time. That when we're writing a project like a book, it needs time to gestate, it needs time to germinate within us, and it needs physical time to get the words down on the page and shape them as we want them, and then to move through the steps towards publication and creation of that object. To bring a book into form in the physical earth is a process that takes time, and it can take varying amounts of time, depending on the process that we're working with. To bring our visions into form in the material world, as visionary writers and creatives, we would do well at this time within the next 2 weeks to, in fact, we have 2 weeks left of Taurus and we have only a week left of Mercury retrograde. Mercury goes direct next Monday, and the Sun moves into Gemini next week on Sunday. So we now have a week to practice this energy of Mercury being retrograde in Taurus. And then we have another one more week. We have another few days after that until the end of next week to practice this energy of Taurus, this energy of sitting, receiving, opening. Taurus is a tantra practice, and that's not always an easy invitation. How easy is it to remain open, to trust, to know that we are safe, to know that the abundance is already within us, to receive pleasure, often one of the most challenging aspects in a tantra practice and in life because of the ways that we have been conditioned and because of various traumas that have created unsafety and the memory of unsafety in our body around these Taurus energies of pleasure, sexuality, creativity, sensuality. One of the most challenging energies is to remain open to receiving what is pleasurable and not push it away or try to rush to an end point or try to get somewhere quick or go back up into the head because those sensations of pleasure can be too overwhelming and stimulating for our bodies, which are not used to being in that state of receptivity and being and feeling safe in our pleasure. So Taurus is a beautiful invitation and a challenging invitation at the same time. And for myself and for many visionary writers, I am guessing we probably feel more comfortable in the energy of Mercury, this fast acting, fast moving, ideas generating. Mercury is the messenger, the quicksilver, the luminary, the bringer of light. We want to be that open channel. We want to be that way shower. And yet with Mercury in retrograde, in the sign of Taurus, we have a very powerful invitation to slow down and to really ground some of those ideas, or even just one true vision that we are calling in and that we are ready or is ready to manifest through us in the year to come. And I mention the year to come because I want to speak about the 15-degree point of Taurus. This is a very interesting degree point. It is midway through the sign of Taurus. It's the exact midpoint of the sign of Taurus. And it is the exact degree point of Beltane in the Northern Hemisphere and Samhain in the Southern Hemisphere. 15 degrees of Taurus is where Mercury went retrograde right after the Aries eclipse that we just had 2 weeks ago. The new moon eclipse was followed by the sun entering into Taurus and then Mercury going retrograde at 15 degrees of Taurus. And Mercury goes all the way back to 5 degrees of Taurus next week and then begins to move forward again and will pass back through 15 degrees of Taurus on the 30th of May. The sun passed through 15 degrees of Taurus exactly at the time of the lunar eclipse. So the exact Beltane, the exact degree point of Beltane, the exact astronomical and astrological Beltane also was the exact moment of the Scorpio full moon lunar eclipse, because we had the moon at 15 degrees of Scorpio, which is the exact degree point of Samhain in the Northern Hemisphere, Beltane in the Southern, and we had the sun at 15 degrees of Taurus, which is the exact point of Beltane in the Northern Hemisphere and Samhain in the Southern Hemisphere. And this 15-degree point of Taurus, this moment of life and death, rebirth, fertility of Beltane, the going down into the underworld of Samhain, And when we think of the earliest astrological stories of Venus, we think of the goddess Inanna, who goes down into the underworld to experience her death and be reborn. This degree point of that activation, which is also the time in the year when the veil is thinnest between worlds, has been opened up with this lunar eclipse portal and had already been activated by Mercury going direct at that degree point just after the first eclipse. So the whole period of time between the two eclipses has been this energy of Mercury retrograde. Mercury comes back across 15 degrees of Taurus on the 30th of May. And next week, on Tuesday, Jupiter enters the sign of Taurus. Jupiter, the planet of expansion and abundance and manifestation, enters the sign of expansion and abundance and manifestation. What a beautiful, beautiful combination. And Jupiter will be there expanding the manifestation potential of the sign of Taurus for the rest of 2023. But here's an interesting thing. In September 2023, Jupiter will also go retrograde in the sign of Taurus at 15 degrees. Jupiter's retrograde path is the exact same path as Mercury's current retrograde path now. 15 degrees of Taurus, back to 5 degrees of Taurus, and then forward again, back through 15 degrees and onward. This is a powerful pathway. And if you can find that pathway in your birth chart, you'll have an insight into what energies this is activating for you specifically, and if you have any planets or points there. But for all of us, 15 degrees of Taurus is being strongly activated throughout the whole of this year. Jupiter, in fact, will be sitting at 15 degrees of Taurus from the middle of August until the autumn equinox, until the Libra equinox. That's a whole month, just over a whole month at that degree point, 15 degrees of Taurus, and it will be going forwards and then it will be going backwards, and it will stay at that degree point for from the middle of August until the autumn equinox, the Libra equinox. Now, what I am feeling from this for us as visionary writers and creatives is that this can be a powerful time for manifestation and abundance of the for manifestation and gestation of the visionary new ideas that we are bringing into form through our writing. But what Mercury retrograde is setting the ground for, setting the foundation for in our practice, is to slow down and to give time to what we are manifesting. What has been activated for you at 15 degrees of Taurus during this lunar eclipse? What is being activated for you at 15 degrees of Taurus with Mercury retrograde? What are the new visions that you are beginning to feel ready to bring into form as we move through in the northern hemisphere, the summer, the birthing, the flowering, the fruiting, and the harvesting time of the year? The visions that we call in with this lunar eclipse and this Mercury retrograde and this particular energy, perhaps we can call in those particular intentions with next week's new moon in Taurus. That will be a good time to set clear intentions for what we are bringing through and what in our writing and in our creative work is ready to take form in the world. We can set those intentions with next week's new moon in Taurus. Mercury will be direct by then. So we will have that energy of momentum. We will have that energy of new clarity, because like me, Mercury has already now gone back to get the things that they forgot, and now they're going to bring them forward and can start to move forward. But with that clarity and with that intention, one thing I think that's more tricky for us as visionary writers often is to recognize that those visions will take time to birth into the physical world. And we have Jupiter entering into Taurus throughout this whole period now. Jupiter will be in Taurus through the new moon onwards for the rest of this year and beyond, to help us to manifest our visions into form in the material world, with the understanding that we are getting from Mercury retrograde that things take time to manifest in this reality. And as Mercury people, as visionaries, we can want to bring in 100 new ideas at once. Our challenge for the rest of this year is to learn to slow down, to embody, and to bring those visions into form in ways that are tangible and meaningful for those who are here to receive them. One of the greatest frustrations of myself and of many visionary writers that I speak to is not manifesting their ideas. So it might be that with this coming new moon, we get to pick one. We get to pick the one that we're going to focus on and commit to and decide on. And we move that forward, knowing that Jupiter will be in support throughout the rest of this year, knowing that come August and September, Jupiter will be reactivating that 15-degree Taurus Beltane lunar eclipse point. And again, I think it's interesting that this happens around the time of the autumn equinox, the time of the harvest, the time of bringing things to fruition and bringing things to completion. It's going to take time, really not that much time, if we can give focus and commitment and if we can give focus and commitment to the ideas that we are ready to bring through as visionary writers, we will see them manifesting in the world by the end of this year. That is my hope and my intention. Of course, it will look different and feel different for everybody. We have a lot of support in place for this, but we're being asked to learn this lesson at the moment from Mercury retrograde. And one thing is with this, we're not aiming for perfection. We're not aiming to suddenly become the image of the sitting bull who is super open and receptive. We want to integrate that into who we already are. We still get to be that visionary conductor of light, the messenger, the quicksilver, the bringer of new possibilities. But we have a responsibility to ourselves, to our soul, to our higher calling, and to the collective evolution, to others, to ground those frequencies and make them meaningful, so that we truly can share our visions with others in ways that they can receive them, and to give the seeds that we've planted time to come to fruition and harvest in the autumn. This, bringing these energies together, is an important practice and process as we learn to co-create a new earth together. So I'm going to my reading today is from my own journal. I had chosen a reading, which I'll bring at some point. I chose a beautiful reading from Settling the Cherry by Jeanette Winterson. When I read it again this morning, it was too heady. And so I've chosen to read for you today from my journal from this morning. It's an invocation and affirmation to Taurus. And it's intended to support all of us to ground and manifest those energies of visionary light that we are the conductors for as visionary writers and creators. So this is, I am Taurus. I direct my energy to where it is most needed and effective. I open to receive all that I am worth. I know my worth and value. I allow myself to receive all of the infinite, glorious, delicious, abundant beauty of this earth. To receive is my gift, my birthright. I slow down and open to receive with pleasure and ecstasy. I take time to fully manifest my intentions and ground my vision into form. And when I think about that invocation, that affirmation, that intention to slow down and receive, it's a real shifting of the foundations of my life, of my daily habitual ways of being. Like I said, I'm not aiming for perfection here, but integration, because the invitation of the cards in the last few weeks have been, especially when we had the Nine of Swords a couple of weeks ago, just after the last eclipse. What are those foundational structures that we're building our lives upon? And where do they need to shift so that we can create something new for where we're going? We create the foundations in the present for the future that we want to manifest. So what we want to manifest in the future, we begin to participate in now. And so that invitation for me is coming through as this invitation to embody more of the Taurus energy, to slow down, to ground my visions and ideas, and to open to receive, to let go of this pattern of doing that keeps me often so busy and so burnt out and distracted from the actual writing that I want to be doing often. So this week, as well as having the invitation of the Empress, which is the Taurus energy. Let's see who else in this elemental arrow deck, very earthy deck, wants to come to the surface in support. Sometimes I'm not sure with these whether it's king or queen. If I think it's the king, let me just check. If they're just because the crown, I can't always tell, but it's got the bubbles. Yeah, I thought so. It's got the bubbles. It's the king. So this is the King of Cups, and the card arrived reversed. King of Cups So the image that I'm getting here is when our own cup is empty and it's turned upside down, the water's all pouring out. In fact, when I did my journey, my meditation with the goddess Venus in Taurus at the weekend, the word that I received from her was empty. So when our own cups are upside down and all the water has poured out, then we cannot give to others. And in order to be able to receive, we need to bring the cup, first of all, the right way up. We need to bring the cup into balance. And we need to be open to receive. Because if our intention is to give to others, then we must have fullness in our own cup from which to give. And this can be really one of the most challenging invitations in today's world of capitalism and corporate power and greed and billionaires and all of the things that, and poverty and inequality and structural inequality and racism and misogyny. Can be very, very difficult to take the invitation to turn our cup upright and allow ourselves to be filled. But truly, if our intention is to give to others, then that's our invitation to find ways that feel supportive for us, that nourish, support, and sustain, that fill our own cups first, in whichever ways we feel able to receive that, and opening, expanding a little bit more our comfort zone, our ability to receive, our capacity to receive. Because the fuller our own cup, the greater our capacity to hold what is nourishing and what is good. The more we have to share with others ultimately, without ever needing to deplete our own, ultimately our own connection to source. Because when we have that connection, when we are true in our connection to the source of abundance, then what we give to others is always also replenished. So that is, or can be, a tough invitation for some of us, but there it is, to turn our cups the right way up, to open to receive, and if it feels possible, to breathe and expand your capacity to receive, to be nourished, to allow yourself to be nourished, to receive pleasure, to receive joy, because paradoxically, that's how we will create and manifest our greatest visions in the world. So thank you so much for being here with me today. I would love to hear from you and hear how these energies are manifesting for you, what you are moving through, any particular challenges that you are experiencing, and how these energies are feeling for you. And do you also find it particularly hard to manifest a vision? Do you have so many new ideas in one moment that, like me, it's difficult to even complete a sentence or an idea? There's nothing wrong with that. It's challenging sometimes, and it can be certainly challenging for others from the outside. But I'm really learning that this is the gift of Mercury. This is the caduceus. This is the being, the open channel for divine light to come through. And yet to integrate that, to balance that with the gifts of Taurus, which enable me to slow down and manifest so that I can create and co-create meaningfully in this world and sustainably. in this world. So thank you so much for being here. If you do want to connect, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Writing Thriving. I'd love to hear your comments and um, hear your perspectives on how these energies are moving through for you and how that's showing up for you as a visionary writer in and around your visionary writing project. Sending you so much love and see you next time. Bye.